My name is Belinda, and I'm from First Step Class 148. I am a native New Yorker, born and raised all over the concrete jungle. I am the middle child of 3 with 2 brothers. We were raised by a single mother. In 1987, I had to drop out of high school after falling in love. We were young, but we were in a rush to get married and start a family as soon as possible. We were together 2 years before I had my son. But we were too young and we were struggling, and it was too much for him, so he left me and our 2-year-old son. I did various minimum wage jobs for the next 18 plus years. Struggling to keep my head above water, I have been a bartender, mortgage, housing specialist, waitress, and cashier. During that time, I had my 2 daughters and a son. I had been working as a mortgage counselor, but then the economy fell, and I was laid off in 2008. I had been making good money and didn't want to go back to bartending. And so I applied for a pre-apprenticeship to become a union carpenter, which I accomplished in 2011 and entered the union as an apprentice. Shortly after, my youngest child, Avery, was diagnosed with autism. I knew that it was going to take a lot of doctor's appointments, and I needed to learn how to take care of my son. It was a lot in the beginning, and so unfortunately, I needed to pause before committing to my career. I took the time to learn more about autism and get him to the right schools and the right doctors. Despite all of this, I completed my apprenticeship in 2014 and graduated as a journeywoman in Local Union 157. Unfortunately, in 2016, I was injured on the job and could no longer handle the demanding day-to-day workload. I had to trade my hard hat in for an apron and had to go back to bartending and serving. In 2018, I was involved in a relationship that turned into a life-threatening domestic violence situation. He assaulted me and it changed my course. I was forced to flee. I was forced to flee to ensure Avery's safety. Avery was my first priority, and I knew that he would have been alone with no one to take care of him. I was placed into a DV shelter with Avery. This was the most difficult and lowest point in my life. But like most of my trauma, I just buried it and continued to move forward. I remember the day I found First Step. I was put into a back-to-work program for security through the shelter and walked into the room, and Liz, the First Step program director, was in the middle of her presentation. I sat in the back and waited it out. I was pretty sure I was in the wrong room at the right time. Sorry. You should have seen the look she gave me. I was late. I knew I was interested as soon as I heard her talking about getting into the administrative field. First Step was about to begin, so I'm sorry, I can't see now. I apologize. Glasses are fogged up. I'm so sorry. It was easier earlier. First Step was about to begin, and so I had to quickly get my documents in 2 days and begin the next week. I'm so glad that I did. My first impression this looked like it was going to be good. The icebreakers were really cool. I understood the computers, but the constant practicing was good. I liked the corporate days where we sat down with people to do interviews. The instructors cared and made sure you understood the materials. Meeting with the caseworker was huge. Growing up, when something happens, you don't talk about it. You had to eat it. It was just the way we were taught. It would fix itself. At First Step, it was good to have someone there to speak to tell them how I was feeling. They could always tell when I wasn't feeling good. I felt safe when I had check-ins. It was a load off my shoulders. One time, DHS moved me from one shelter to another, and they wouldn't give me keys to our room. So we would sit in the hallways for up to an hour and had to wait to be let in by a security guard. I told my case manager, Jen, and she made a phone call. And before I got back to the shelter that day, I had a key. She also gave me strategies on how to work through my thoughts of my past that would take charge of my brain, to check in with myself, focus on how me and Avery were safe. They always found the positive, which I'm not used to. I'm positive towards everyone else, but not myself. So it was good to have someone who could just listen and be supportive. First Step put me in an internship at Touro College. I was doing a little bit of everything, working with Dr. Jeff Gardier. A lot of administrative work, typing, filing, faxing, scanning, and answering phones. It was fun. Well, not fun because it's work, but I felt good about it. I had somewhere to go every day. I was working with other First Step interns, so we would have lunch together. When I finished my internship, Dr. Jeff hired me part-time to continue my internship. It made me feel like I was in control, and I felt like a boss. I was later hired full-time as the administrative manager. Eventually, when I began managing others, I realized I had become a boss. Graduating the program felt great. I finished what I started, and I gained so much as a First Stepper. Because of my job, I was able to move into my own apartment. Today, Avi is a thriving 16-year-old. I feel whole again. I know I don't have to rely on others to provide for myself and for my son. I like giving back to the program. Anything they need, I will always do. That's the least I can do. So during COVID, we got super busy at work, and they wanted to hire another administrative coordinator. I reached out to First Step, and we hired 2 more First Step graduates. When the time comes, and if we need more staff, I'll always reach out to First Step. If I know someone is transitioning through something, I will always tell them about First Step. Because I walked into the wrong room at the right time. Now I'm ready to purchase my first property. I started a small business for myself, and I went back to school and will graduate in June. It all started at First Step. All the things I went through brought me to this point. Being able to find First Step was a blessing. It was meant to be. I would like to thank Liz, Jen, Janaea, and everyone for all the support I got from First Step. I appreciate them and always will. Thank you.